Welcome back everyone. Today we are going to start chapter 8, A Shirt in the Market. This chapter tells us the story of a shirt. It begins with the production of cotton and ends with the sale of the shirt. We shall see that a chain of markets linked to producer of cotton to the buyer of the shirt in the supermarket. Buying and selling takes place at every step in the chain. Does everyone benefit equally from this, or do some people benefit more than others? We shall find out. So, a cotton farmer in Kurnool. Swapna, a small farmer in Kurnool, Andhra Pradesh, grows cotton on her small piece of land. The balls of the cotton plant are ripe and some have already burst. So Swapna is busy picking cotton. The balls which carry the cotton in them do not burst open all at once. So it takes several days to harvest the cotton. Once the cotton is collected, instead of selling it at Kurnool cotton market, Swapna and her husband take the harvest to the local trader. At the beginning of the cropping season, Swapna had borrowed rupees 2500 from the trader at a very high interest rate to buy seeds, fertilizer, pesticides for cultivation. At that time, the local trader made Swapna agree to another condition. He made her promise to sell all her cotton to him. So cultivation of cotton requires high level of input such as fertilizers and pesticides, and the farmers have to incur heavy expenses on account of this. Most often the small farmers need to borrow money to meet their expenses. So you can see the production of cotton. First is trader sells the cotton at the Kurnool cotton market. Then second, ginning mill buys the cotton. Third, ginning mill removes the seeds and presses the cotton into bales. Then fourth is spinning mill buys the bales. So now fifth one, spinning mills spins the cotton into yarn, and then spinning mill sells the yarn to yarn dealer. So this was the process. At the trader's yard, two of his men weigh the bag of cotton at a price of 1500 per quintal. The cotton fetches rupees 6000. The trader deducts 3000 for repayment of loan and interest and pays Swapna 3000. Swapna 3000 only. Trader, cotton is selling cheap. There is a lot of cotton in the market. Swapna, I have toiled so hard for 4 months to grow this cotton. You can see how fine and clean the cotton is this time. I had hoped to get a better price. Trader, Amma, I am not giving you a good price. Other traders are not even paying this much. You can check at the Kurnool market. If you do not believe me, Swapna, don't be angry. How can I doubt you? I had only hoped that we could earn enough from the cotton crop the last a few months. Though Swapna knows that cotton will sell for at least rupees 1800 per quintal, she doesn't argue further. The trader is a powerful man in the village, and the farmers have to depend on him for loans, not only for cultivation but also to meet other exigencies such as illness, children's school fees. Also, there are times in the year when there is no work and no income for the farmers, so borrowing money is the only means for survival. Swapna's earning from cotton cultivation is barely more than what she might have earned as a wage laborer. The cotton market of Erode. So you can see a shop of Erode. Erode's bi-weekly cotton market in Tamil Nadu is one of the largest cloth markets in the world. A large variety of cloth is sold in this market. Cloth that is made by weavers in the villages around is also brought here for sale. All around the market are offices of cloth merchants who buy this cloth. Other traders from many South Indian towns also come and purchase cloth in this market. On market days, you would also find weavers bringing cloth to that had been made on order from the merchant. These merchants supply cloth on order to garment manufacturers and exporters around the country. They purchase the yarn and give instruction to the weavers about the kind of cloth that is to be made. In the following example, we can see how this is done. So you can see, first process is, this is the merchant shop in the bazaar. Over the years, the traders have developed extensive contact with garment firms around the country from whom they get orders. These traders purchase the yarn thread from others. The weavers live in villages around and take the yarn supplied by these traders to the home where the looms are located in shed adjacent to their houses. So you can see that in second. This photograph shows a power loom in one such home. The weaver and their families spend long hours working on these looms. Most weaving units have about 2 to 8 power looms on which the yarn is woven into cloth. A variety of sari, towels, shirts, ladies' dress material and bed sheets are produced in these looms. Third picture is they then bring back the finished cloth to the traders. Here they can be seen getting ready to go to the merchant in the town. So you can see that the trader keeps an account of the yarn given and pays them money for weaving this into cloth. So putting out system, weavers producing cloth at home. The merchant distributes work among the weavers based on the order he has received for cloth. The weaver gets the yarn from the merchant and supply him the cloth. From the weaver, this arrangement seemingly has two advantages. The weavers do not have to spend the money on purchase of yarn. Also, the problem of selling the finished cloth is taken care of. Weavers know from the outset what cloth they should make and how much of it is to be woven. However, this dependence on the merchants both for raw material and market means that the merchants have a lot of power. They give order for what is to be made and they pay a very low price for making the cloth. The weaver have no way of knowing who they are making the cloth for or at what price it is to be sold. At the cloth market, the merchants sell the cloth to the garment factories. In this way, the market works more in favor of the merchants. Weaver invests all their savings or borrowing money at higher interest rates to buy looms. Each loom costs about 20,000 rupees. So at small weaving with 2 looms has to invest 40,000. The work on these looms cannot be done alone. The weavers and other adult members of his family works up to 12 hours a day to produce cloth. For all this work they earn about 3,500 per month. So it is very less. The arrangement between the merchant and the weaver is an example of putting out system, whereby the merchant supplies the raw material and receives the finished product. It is prevalent in the weaving industry in most regions of India. So weaver cooperative, we have seen that the weaver are paid very little by the merchants under the putting out system. Weavers cooperative are one way to reduce the dependence on the merchant and to earn a higher income for the weavers. In a cooperative, people with common interest come together and work for their mutual benefit. In a weaver cooperative, the weavers form a group and take up certain activities collectively. They procure yarn from the yarn dealer and distribute it among the weavers. The cooperative also does the marketing, so the role of the merchant is reduced and weavers get a fair price on the cloth. At times, the government helps the cooperatives by buying clothes from them at a reasonable price. For instance, the Tamil Nadu government runs a free school uniform program in the state. The government procures the clothes for this program from the power looms weavers cooperatives. Similarly, the government buys clothes from the handloom weavers cooperative and sell it through stores known as co-optex. You might have come across one of these stores in your town. So you can see the garment exporting factory near Delhi. So here the picture shows women workers sewing buttons in a garment factory. The Erode merchant supplies the cotton cloth produced by the weavers to a garment exporting factory near New Delhi. The garment exporting factory will use the cloth to make shirts. The shirt will be exported to foreign buyers. Among the foreign buyers are business persons from the US and Europe who run a chain of stores. These large stores do business strictly on their own terms. They demand the lowest price from the suppliers. In addition, they set high standard for quality of production and timely delivery. Any defects or delay in the delivery is dealt with strictly. So, the exporters try his best to meet the conditions set by these powerful buyers. Faced with such pressures from the buyers, the garment exporting factories in turn try to cut costs. They get the maximum work out of the worker at the lowest possible wages. This way they can maximize their own profit and also supply the garments to foreign buyers at a cheap price. The Impex garment factory has 70 workers. Most of them are women. Most of these workers are employed in a temporary basis. This means that whenever the employer feels that a worker is not needed, the worker can be asked to leave. So it is a temporary job. Workers' wages are fixed according to their skills. The highest paid among the workers are the tailors who get about 3,000 per month. So you can see this is also very less. Women are employed as helpers for threading, thread cutting, buttoning, ironing, and packaging. These jobs have the lowest wage. So you can see payment to worker per month. Tailor has 3000 rupees. Ironing is 1.5 per piece, and checking is 2000 rupees, and thread cutting and buttoning is 1500. The shirt in the United States. A number of shirts are on display at a large clothes shop in the United States and are priced around $26. This is each shirt sells for $26, that is around 1800 rupees. So one shirt is sold at 1800 rupees. So you can see the margin is profit is 900, advertising cost 400, storage 200, and purchase 300. So at 300 they are buying and having a profit of 900. So around 3 times the purchase price. So you can see a number of shirts are on display. You see that they are selling it at 1800. Using the diagram, show the margin to fill in the blanks. The business person purchased the shirt from the garment exporter from Delhi at 300 rupees per shirt. Then he spent 400 for advertising in the media and another 200 per shirt on storage. Display of all other charges. Thus the cost of the shirt for this price is around 900, while he sells the shirt for 1800. 900 is the profit on one shirt. If he is able to sell a large number of shirts, his profit will be higher. The garment exporter sold a shirt at 300 per piece. The cloth and other raw material cost him 100 per shirt. The worker wages cost around 25 per shirt. The cost of running his office come to 25 per shirt. Can you calculate the profit per shirt for the garment exporter? So you can see his cost is around 150 and 150 is his profit. So is the double. Who are the gainers in the market? A chain of market links to the producer of cotton to the buyers at the supermarket. Buying and selling takes place at every step in the chain. Let us recall who were the people who were involved in this process of buying and selling. Did they all gain as so much? And there were people who made profits in the market, and there were some who did not gain as much from the buying and selling. Despite their having toiled very hard, they earned little. Can you place them in the table shown here? So you can see the table, people who gained in the market and people who didn't gain as much in the market. So you can imagine from the above story what is the real picture here. Market and equality. The foreign business persons made huge profit in the market. Compared to this, the garment exporter made only moderate profits. On the other hand, the earnings of the workers at the garment export factory are barely enough to cover their day-to-day needs. Similarly, we saw the small cotton farmer and the weaver at Erode put in long hours of hard work, but they did not get a fair price in the market for what they produced. The merchants or traders are somewhere in between. Compared to the weavers, they have earned more, but it is still much less than the exporter. Thus, not everyone gains equally in the market. Democracy is also about getting a fair wage in the market, whether it is Kanta or Swapna. If families don't earn enough, how would they think of themselves as equal to the others? On one hand, the market offers people opportunity for work and to be able to sell things that they grow or produce. It could be the farmer selling cotton or the weaver producing clothes. On the other hand, it is usually the rich and the powerful that get the maximum earnings. From the market, these are the people who have money and owns the factories, the large shops, large land holding, etc. The poor have to depend on the rich and the powerful for various things. They have to depend for loans, as in the case of Swapna, the small farmer, for raw material and marketing of their goods. Weaver in the put out system, and most often for employment workers at the garment factory. Because of this dependence, the poor are exploited in the market. So you have seen that there are ways to overcome this, such as forming cooperatives of the producers and ensuring that laws are followed strictly. In the last chapter, we will read about how one such fish workers cooperative was started on the Tawa River. So here the chapter is finished.